Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. It is Sunshine here again with the Sober Witch Life podcast. And oh boy, has it been a while? Yeah, it's been quite a few weeks. I don't even know how many weeks, but I do know that we've recorded only 5 episodes so far this year. So this, I think, is episode 6. And for it being almost the end of March, damn, right? But it's not that I didn't want to. It's not that I didn't have it on my agenda. It's not that I didn't have it on my calendar to do it. It's just one of the things that I've learned in recovery is that you have to prioritize your mental, physical, and spiritual health over everything else, including your work, right? Because if you don't have those sound, if you don't have your mind, your body, and your spirit sound, then I'm actually going to take these headphones out because I don't need to listen to anything. Um, if you don't have those things sound, you're not able to do this, you're not able to really be present in life, right? You're going to be distracted. Your mind's going to be somewhere else, your body's going to be aching and in pain, and your spirit could be God, who even knows where, right? Um, and trying to juggle the podcast for the last few weeks with trying to be present in my life and caring for my mind, my body, spirit has just been hard because the universe kept shifting things around me, right? Things just kept shifting. Some expected, some not expected, some things that were expected not going as expected. Yeah, so first and foremost, if you're in a partnership, you may be able to relate to this. Finding time for each other, especially when you have kids or a family or other obligations, work, business, maybe even your parents, right? Finding time for each other. And for, quite a few weeks, Dan and I hardly had any time for ourselves, right? Between me juggling work, business, uh, you know, obligations around that with him and his corporate job. So he still works a corporate job, has to drive almost an hour to work and an hour back, and then works 5 days a week. And us trying to find time with the kids, and the family. There's been very little relationship building time. And it started to weigh on us. Um, And this is even after the beginning of the year, I started to shift my calendar to be able to spend every other weekend with him when he was off. But I'm a bit of a recovering workaholic, and I looked back and there were a couple of weekends that I had already agreed to things before I made this decision that I had to attend to, right? So I missed time with him. Uh, he's been really overwhelmed with his job and unhappy. They've thrown a lot of things at him. There was a corporate merger that happened, and it just put a lot of pressure on him. So even when we would have these days off, I can't say that either of us were really that present. And then we had about 2 weeks that we were traveling for a family vacation, and I would love to say that it was incredible. It was our first family vacation. And me, him, the kids, we consider my niece one of the young ones, younger than us, I suppose. Um, and it had a lot of challenges for being the first. And it included a very uncomfortable breakup and makeup, right? The reality is the lack of time that we had spent with each other started to show up on the vacation. And we weren't really even able to spend time with each other, right? Because we had the whole brood with us. We had everybody with us. And by the time we would sit down, or head to bed, we were pretty exhausted and quickly, hit snooze town, so to speak, right? There wasn't even a lot of conversation that was going on, which is a lot of times what we'll do is we'll head to bed and be able to sit and talk. And we didn't have it. So that was a lot. Once again, expected, not expected. Um, when we got back, we spent some time mending, right? We really wanted to spend some time and focus on each other, and we were able to do that. And then, right, and all of this is in the course of like a month, almost a month and a half. And then I ended up in the hospital with appendicitis and had to have emergency surgery, right? And nobody puts emergency surgery on their to-do list, right? It was a lot. The universe kind of brought a whole ton of things into the path. And, I just couldn't sit down and record the podcast, even though they only take 25 minutes, maybe sometimes 30 minutes, where for when it's just me. If it's him and I, it's an hour, almost. And that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it does take mental space. I sit and I think about what I want to talk about, what the talking points are, what's going to be the most potent or important thing for people to hear about. And yeah, I didn't have the energy in me to prioritize it over other things that needed my time and attention. So I haven't shown up here, you know? And it's okay because I've learned this, right? I've learned that this is okay, that prioritizing what you need in order to feel your best self, to be your best self, to be present your best self is important. And so there are three reasons why I'm sharing this with you today, though, right? And I already talked about, how I mentioned the universe, kind of brought these things, shifted things in the way. And those three reasons, number one, as witches who do magic, okay, the universe is always conspiring in our favor to bring about the spells that we cast. Not always in the way that we think, right? We don't get to prescribe that. We can try our darndest in the spell casting, but you never know. You never know how it is bringing about what it needs to bring. And sometimes it might be through an emergency surgery, a breakup on vacation, lack of time and energy to do other things. It may be all of these things, right? So number one, we have to remember that the universe is always conspiring in our favor. Number two, as someone in recovery, we get to choose how to react to the world around us, right? Old me, prior to stepping in recovery, would not have handled a lot of these situations good. Well, no. Not having time, I would have pouted, I would have been angry. I probably would have been mean. I may have found attention elsewhere, right? The breakup, I may have held a grudge. I may have said really mean and cruel things that I couldn't have come back from. The surgery, right? Or having to ask to reschedule things so him and I could mend. I rescheduled a whole bunch of appointments so him and I could spend time together when we got back. I never would have done that. I would have said, F you, right? Work is important. I got to pay the bills. And then the surgery would have just sent me into a whole spiral. It really would have, you know? But as a person in recovery, I get to choose how I would respond to the world around me. I get to choose how I respond to the things that the universe continues to put into my path. And number three, the last and the third thing that I want to share is that time will change almost everything. Any moment that we're in can be a different moment in a mere second. The way that we feel can change in the blink of an eye. So remembering these things, that the universe is conspiring in our favor, that we can choose how we react, and that time can change things, right, are really, really important. Because we are all human, and our recovery journey is meant to help us learn how to navigate what life throws our way. It's a very strange and unusual journey, right? It's not going to be written in stone anywhere. Even if we want to talk about, a 12-step program or 13 steps, right? There are steps, but the reality is it's a path. It's winding. It may loop back on itself. There is no one way written in stone. It just isn't. Every single path is going to be strange and unusual and different. And we always have the ability to respond with grace or to act a fool. I just want you to know that whatever it is that you are choosing, right, responding with grace or acting as a fool, the universe is listening. and it's going to start to respond to you. It'll give you more of what you respond to. It'll give you more situations similar to how you responded. It will have you repeat lessons if you refuse to learn. So my biggest suggestion is remember that recovery is a strange and unusual journey. It's meant to be lived, it's meant to be experienced, and it is meant to be learned from. If you want an amazing and spectacular life, choose the easier way. Choose love over anything else, and choose peace, because that's what you'll end up receiving more of. More ease, more love, and more peace. So with that being said, I know it's a little short today, but it is sweet. I hope you love it. And until next time, my dear friends, much love from me to all of you.